All right, welcome back to Table Flipping Board Games, and we we did it, you guys. We actually beat it.
We
Well,
did
most of
it.
us.
Hmm.
Okay, so I have an announcement that may make everyone want to flip the
Uh-oh.
table.
Uh,
Uh,
uh-oh.
I was
What?
just looking over. So when you request a card, it has to be immediately revealed and played for its ability. It can't be used for the crisis.
What?
Yeah,
what do you mean it can't be?
you can't use it for crisis contribution. It has to be flipped face up and used immediately.
So we couldn't have ever even used it for our.
What,
No.
right? We couldn't have used it for our secret objectives, and we couldn't have used it for crisis contribution.
Well,
So we might have just not won.
That could have happened.
oh
Uh,
my God.
and what's funny is
I can't
I
even
played
remember
I've,
all the times we did that.
I've played this game about 10 times and I've never done it that way. Never played that way.
Well,
I have to admit, the games that I grow to love the most have rules like that.
Yeah.
Because Arkham is my favorite, and I swear we never played it. We were finding rules that we did wrong like years
Yeah.
after that we've been playing with the whole time. Okay, well, let's introduce this
all
show.
right.
This is Table Flipping Board Game. And we play a board game and then we review it for you guys in hopes that you guys can get some info on a board game before you decide whether or not to purchase it. I'm Gillyweed, one of the hosts. My co-hosts are Over Yonder and Game Face Killer. Sometimes we have a guest, and we had a fantastic one this week as we had Zombie Greb, aka ZG Gaming. Please follow her and give her some support, especially for sticking through this entire game that we apparently played incorrectly.
Whoops. So,
Epic length, but not correct.
eh, I'd
Oh.
say we get a A for effort, like
Yeah.
98%.
Yeah.
So speaking of, this game is Dead of Winter. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is the second part of our show where we kind of talk about the game that we just played incorrectly and then tell you guys why you should play it the right way. Uh, but if you want to watch the YouTube videos before this, we just spent a bunch of time actually playing through the game here on Tabletop Simulator. And yeah, so this is part where we just say what we thought about the game. Each of us usually cover a slightly different aspect of the game to kind of give you guys a feel of how just we think about it from different angles.
Mhm.
Um, Gameface, you want to give us a little bit of the history again, and maybe tell us a little bit about this game?
Actually,
Uh,
right before you do that, if you don't mind,
Sorry.
I do want to mention that this is on the Misscliks channel.
Yes.
If you're watching on YouTube, you probably know that since you had to go to the YouTube channel. But just in case you're not aware of what Misscliks actually is, this is a community dedicated to uplifting female geeks and gamers in the scene in board gaming, video gaming, all of the gaming. So we've got a lot of different shows. So definitely check us out on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. All right, with that, please, Game Face Killer, take it away.
No problem. Well, this was published in 2014, so it's a very recent game. And I remember being pretty excited about it when it came out. But despite the fact that a lot of people were pretty fatigued on the zombie genre, and despite the fact that people were a little unsure exactly of how the Crossroads mechanic would work, they weren't sure if it was going to be fun. And then, of course, combat is a little strange. It is dependent on the dice roll, but it's more for your survival. A lot of people were skeptical, but I think it really changed a lot of people's minds, and really the theme mostly came through, I think, pretty perfectly. And of course, the zombies were more of a background element, which I think helped too. Um, the company that made the game, so far they have released information that they're going to make other Crossroads genres. I believe the next one is a Lost in Space genre, so it's going to be a sci-fi theme with lots of characters, lots of
Like actually
tragedy
based
happening
on
in space.
Lost in Space?
No, it's just
Okay.
going to be that's the theme. It's going to be some type of sci-fi damage control with characters and the Crossroads mechanics used again.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's an interesting
Uh,
mechanic.
yeah. It does add the tension, and I was wondering if you guys. I know it's just like a personal preference. I know some people kind of discarded the Crossroad card immediately,
Mhm.
Hmm.
but do you guys feel like if we were playing where the crossroad card was never played so you never knew for sure until the end of your turn. What did you guys feel like would be the best way to
Oh,
handle
I
that?
see.
For the tension, I like the idea
Right.
of just never playing it until the end so that you never stop feeling. But of course, my area of talking about the game is psychology. And that's what the main thing that I wanted to talk about was the crossroads mechanic,
Hmm. Yeah.
which is so cool. I really like that you're like, you never know what step will stop you, come back to haunt you, will make you face some sort of crazy catastrophe, or you'll meet somebody who could want to join you.
Hmm.
I do like that it's not always bad, so it's not like a constant like you see them bring up the
Mhm.
card and you're just like, oh god, I'm gonna get stuck
What's gonna
here. A
happen?
zombie's gonna attack me.
Yeah.
It
Right.
is possibly like, could this be good? This is exactly how I think a zombie apocalypse would be. Like you meet someone
Hmm.
and they could be really bad, like the woman with the bag and the knife, or they could be
Right.
great, like Woodsman McPherson or whatever his name was. Colby Kodiak
Colby.
Colby. That guy
Kodiak
was the
Colby. Yeah.
best.
Yeah. He was awesome. And his crossroads card was hilarious. You know, that he's running naked through the woods.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
So, um, Zombie Grub, since you've played this in the past, how have the Crossroads cards played out for you generally?
Um, hmm.
Do you think they've been generally bad, or have they been kind of even split? Because I mean, we didn't actually get enough of them to trigger for me to get a feeling of how they
Yeah,
usually behave.
that's what kind of sucks is that I don't think we got that many, and when we do, they're
Hmm.
usually split down the middle between bad and good.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It's
Well,
strange. There are a lot of the cards that are keyed to only one specific person, one survivor. So, like,
yeah, yeah.
every character in the game has one specific crossroads cards, and so that's a lot of characters that the idea that they would actually be out in play at that point is pretty small.
Yeah.
This game can already be kind of lengthy, so I like the idea
Hmm.
Hmm.
that they built in a mechanic that happens occasionally, and they've
Right.
pretty much figured out a way to make it happen occasionally. And
Right.
so the idea is you could have a turn where nothing ever happens, or you could have a turn where they bring out the yellow card. You're like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. It fits very well in a zombie apocalypse themed game,
Hmm.
and I always like seeing game developers come up with that mechanic and then be able to build games off of it. Like
Hmm.
Pandemic. Love those
Right.
guys. They made
Hmm.
Pandemic and then Forbidden Desert and the Forbidden
Yeah.
Island, and they were like, okay, we'll just take this and do it on everything else.
Mhm.
So I think it's going to be really neat to see them use that, but in a different sort of game and hopefully
Right.
with different aspects, but still using that one mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. As a core
Uh,
mechanic, I think it's pretty cool. Though I don't know if I really felt the tension aspect as much as I might have, just because there's no way to prevent what's happening.
right.
And so, you don't know what's going to happen. It might as well just be a random dice roll. Like
It's true.
Hmm.
it's like 1 out of 6 times something happens to you, and then maybe you just see what happens. But it is neat that it's themed. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that they have that dilemma aspect. So if
Hmm.
we had gotten a few of those choices earlier in the game, they might have been worth taking a little bit more risk. But since we were almost done when we saw quite a few of those dilemma, it was easy to say, well, nothing's going to happen.
Hmm.
um, one of the best triggers I saw for a crossroads was if a player yawned at any point during his or her turn,
What?
then it
That's
Oh
triggered a
yeah,
crossroad
amazing.
card.
yeah,
That's
What is
I've
the
gotten that
amazing.
one
trigger?
before.
Yeah, that was the one I was
Yawning.
waiting for.
That was like
What?
the
Right.
first one we got when we first played this game.
Oh,
So
that's
literally,
awesome.
my friend is like sitting there, and then she's like a minute late because I yawned, and then a minute later she's like, "Wait, did you yawn?" And she picks up a crossword card.
Oh my gosh. That's like breaking the fourth wall as a board game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
awesome.
Yeah,
insanely
and
cool.
it's like you're all tired and like you're not like
Hmm.
watching or something like that. I
Hmm.
forget the actual scenario.
Yeah, yeah. It was great. It was great.
That's cool.
That is
The one that someone linked in chat was the dog one, which is amazing. There's a
mm.
dog character that you can get, and one of the cards he like finds some random hobo that outfits him with a submachine gun, basically. So when you come back, you can kill 8 zombies. Or option number 2, in quotations, look, Sparky has a submachine gun on his back, and then you raise 1 morale.
You're like literally like, ah.
That's awesome.
That is great.
Wow.
I love that. Eight zombies.
Yeah, he just
Yeah.
goes back and like just tears it.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah,
I wanted to know your thoughts on the art. Since you're an artist, Zombie Grub, what do you think of the
Oh,
art in the game?
oh, I am. I always forget about that. It's pretty good. I like most of it. We've played, I think, other board games where I really like. You're talking about like 3D models, right? And all I could think of was the Arkham Horror game has 3D models that you can buy extra if you don't
Mm.
like the little cardboard things, and
Hmm.
the 3D models are so terrible. I always play the nun, and she looks like I don't know. She looks like a ghost in the 3D model. This one's pretty good. I do like the grittiness of the feel. Some of the character art is better than others,
Hmm.
but as long as like the cool ones are cool, then I'm good.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Starbucks is really cool.
Hmm.
she's
Starbucks.
just Starbuck. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good looking characters, but there's nothing really exploitative, it doesn't seem like to me. Nothing really too provocative, but
It's
they're
not like
still really
yeah, not
a
at
cool.
all.
random stripper who's still in like still
Yeah,
like stripper
Yeah,
gear.
right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there are some characters like that in other games. Like,
Hmm.
why are they needed? I
This
was
makes no
actually,
sense in a zombie apocalypse.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was actually
Yeah.
looking through the characters and I noticed that they are very diverse, which I
Mhm.
think is really fantastic. And besides the fact that they have Felicia Day in here,
Yeah.
which is really
Yeah,
cool
that is
too.
hilarious and very random.
Yeah, I
Um,
do like the also. It's not only diverse with like career jobs and race and stuff, and
mhm.
an even number of women and men.
Hmm.
Like the age can differ so much too.
Yeah.
You have a high schooler all the way up to like a grandmother or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got the
yeah.
grandma right here actually in the characters, and that's exactly what I was thinking too. Is like there's
Hmm.
basically a like an older lady, there's like grandpa type people.
Hmm.
Then there's Felicia Day. Let's see.
They included her as a tabletop promo. It was like tabletop day or
Oh,
something
I
like that.
see.
Yeah, so it was like a
Okay.
celebration thing.
I
There's
think
a
that
dog.
the other thing I
Yeah.
really like too is that I was looking at the costuming for the characters, and they are like all dirty
Hmm.
and like bloody, which I think is really neat too, is that they've
Yeah.
got like these like dirty costuming.
Yeah, like it's been some time since this started, which is
It's like
cool.
ripped up and bloody and stuff.
Hmm.
And
I also like there's a pirate versus ninja opportunity in this game.
Yeah. Oh,
Literally, you
that's
get a
Yeah.
true.
pirate and you can get a ninja.
what?
Yeah.
This is a female construction worker?
Heck yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
Hmm.
She's got demolition. She's got
Yeah.
TNT. That is really cool. She's my new favorite character. I love you, Felicia Day, but that is Ashley Ross, the best.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the crisis? I noticed we were getting a little frustrated. I'll
Oh,
take a look here.
that was so
It's-
unlucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seemed like it was
Oh,
supposed to
man.
be even, but
I want to. I
In
would have
terms
liked to
of
see Crisis that went along with the objective, like
yeah,
yeah,
true scenario based, like some other games that we have, instead of just a different scenario but the same Crisis deck.
right. Well, it's interesting that you said that because really survivability would be about being able to find food, and we kind of had that happen to us a lot of most of the
yeah.
time.
Well, so I agree, but I think that the difference would be that if you picked an objective where you knew that you needed to find food, like for 4 out of the 8
Right.
rounds or whatever, then we could at least plan for it. Whereas in this case, it
Yeah.
was like, what are we going to get next round? Because yeah, I
Yeah.
Yeah.
had no idea what was going to come up in a crisis.
That's
Yeah.
my problem with
So
it, is if you're gonna have a scenario based game, then it should be completely set up so when you beat it, you know that you beat it and you can
Right.
move on to the next objective.
Right.
But like this one, we could have beaten it or we could have not beaten it, because who knows? Because you just happen to get unlucky and get 4 food things, or you happen to get like an even draw between the different types of supplies. So
So
that made me a little bit frustrated that it wasn't completely scenario based.
and we literally drew 4 out of the 6 cards that had food as a crisis objective. And then we even drew another one where you had food and
as an alternate,
medicine. Yeah, so there were 5 out of the 7 cards
wow,
were ones that we drew and they all had food requirements.
that's crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was very improbable.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I agree with Gilly that like if I really want to be able to say that we beat a certain scenario, if it's
Mhm.
going to be a scenario game, And I don't feel like I can really get that out of this because it doesn't seem like there's anything I could do better next time other than just draw different cards.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
This game
And
is
not break the
entirely
rules.
luck based. Yeah, this
mhm,
game is entirely luck based, and the problem too is like things can collapse very easily. You can get food on top of food necessity, on
right.
top
Yeah.
of food necessity, on top of junk, and like everything just compounds. And if they had
Yeah.
something where it was like grab for food unless your junk is over or under something, then that would be a lot cooler.
Hmm.
Right, right. I guess it
Mhm,
was supposed to try and emulate the feeling of you don't know what's going to happen and things go crazy all the
right.
time in a zombie apocalypse.
Hmm.
But I would almost say that because they got to a colony situation, you think it would actually not be that bad.
A little more stable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
they're
Yeah,
actually
I
at a
think
colony. They have survivors.
right.
Or maybe alternate ways of solving the dilemma, right? Like you can use 4 tools or 2 food or
That would have been
something
cool,
like
yeah.
that.
And
Yeah.
like maybe bring in more of the cards that like okay, this scenario is going to be food heavy, but it's
Oh,
going to
right,
be
right.
like so everything's going to have food on it, but you can fill them in other ways as well if
Hmm.
if you can't get food for whatever reason. I think that could have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um not to say I didn't like it. I actually really enjoyed this game.
Hmm.
Um but I could see how it would how that would be frustrating. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
if that was the kind of game you were going for, that you wanted to
Hmm.
play a scenario based game, then this isn't quite that.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised we almost won, quote unquote, because I've like out of the
Yeah.
I'm
five
gonna
other
call it
games
a
that I've
win.
played,
Hmm.
3 out of the 5 games have lasted like beneath like an hour because
Mm,
basically within the first turn we were overwhelmed by a bunch of different things, especially depending
wow.
on what scenario we got.
How
Yeah.
So
many
it was just super hard.
how many people were you playing with in those games? Is it
um,
they said 4 is kind of like the sweet spot, so
Hmm.
for most of the time, maybe once with a fifth.
mhm.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we just got super lucky on this
Yeah.
round then. Slash
Yeah,
I feel
It
cheated.
like we
no.
really did. I'd never gotten so
Yeah.
many guns. I was rolling in stuff, which was nice, except food. Didn't
Hmm.
almost have food. Usually it starts very immediately, like zombies everywhere.
Mhm.
I guess
Yeah.
most scenario cards actually do start with other things. This was literally just, well, I guess you start with some zombies, but it was like survive, not
Right.
go out and get stuff,
Well,
whatnot.
And
I was gonna say right off in the beginning. I mean, I thought we were gonna get overrun pretty quickly, but then we
Mhm.
started figuring out barricades and yeah, and we got a bunch of weapons. The
Hmm.
sniper rifle helped like crazy.
Yeah. And there's 2, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me a little bit too of this idea of the crisis mechanic problem with similar things that happen in Battlestar. Like you can get overwhelmed with combat, and combat can be kind of slow. Like a person can't really do too much with combat on their
Yeah.
turn.
Hmm.
But even
Uh,
then, like you can press the emergency switch, the
right.
jump without,
Yeah, that's
just,
true. That's true. You can get
yeah. If
out
there
of
was
no
like,
Everything
if
problems.
there was a bomb that we could send to a zombie overwhelming, then that would
like
be
Yeah.
cool.
like
But
move the colony or something like
Yeah.
that,
yeah,
where we just
Yeah.
like pick up
colony.
and leave because like screw these zombies, we're going somewhere else.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and then I didn't mention this, but there is actually an alternative side to the card that is a hard condition, so you can
Hmm.
play it on easy or hard. And if you play it on hard, we would have had to have survived for 2 more rounds.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it would have
What?
been tough.
That would have been forever.
And
Well,
there has to be at least 6 food
6
tokens
food.
in the supply.
Wow.
That would have been impossible.
Yeah.
Well, it's probable that even the one we played was impossible. Now looking
Yeah.
at how
Mm.
we won it.
It,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like we stuck with the spirit of the game.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those thematic. It's so good at capturing the thematic, like any of those little
yeah.
seams and things, kind of.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
makes me laugh is last
Disagree.
game, it was we thought it was too cooperative.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then this one, it's like the cooperative feature is not nearly enough.
so speaking about the cooperative feature, so hold on, I'm gonna back up a little bit here. So
Meaning the requesting cards is what I'm talking about.
yeah,
But
Right. Right.
yeah, yeah. So but speaking about the cooperative, so I like that they tried to that they made a cooperative game that has kind of individual play in it.
Hmm.
I am not a fan of games that tell you you don't win when everybody else wins.
Yeah.
That's not a cooperative game.
Yeah, and
It's a competitive game.
yeah.
So I'm going to flip the table for that because it may just seem so. I know that this seems like I'm gonna be like I'm a sore loser because I didn't actually finish my objective, which
Yeah.
is true partially. But I had this opinion from the beginning that secret objectives, they can make the game more interesting, but it's not a cooperative game then.
Right.
And like, we kind of got into it at the end where we're like, okay, well, what do you need to complete your thing? What do I need to complete
Right.
my thing?
Right.
Like that kind of starts getting to it, but it's just like, what's the point at that point? Like, use a different mechanic to achieve the same, like, we each have to do this thing,
Right.
and make everybody in the same state. Don't
I
just be
think,
like, oh, well, you
yeah.
sucked, so
What
you
about
don't win.
what about instead? Hear me out here.
Hmm.
That seems to me like what it's trying to do is envision a zombie apocalypse where a bunch of strangers meet and each person has something like weird about them that makes them kind of untrustworthy.
Right.
And
Hmm.
if the point is getting us to like trust each other enough that by the end we're like willing to help each other with those problems, with our differences, which is what this kind of makes me feel like they're
Right.
doing. What about if a person doesn't achieve their objective, instead of them losing while everyone else wins, like you lose another morale? So like you can win the game, but if they don't get their thing, they lose it.
Yeah, that'd be better.
Yeah.
I think
That would
that's
be
think.
way better.
I would also think something like not a secret objective, basically, because once you learn that someone's a greedy hoarder, you're gonna know that, right?
Mm.
As another survivor, and you're there, and instead of being like totally secretive about it and like you might screw it over, it's more like, well, we can't ask Zombie Grub because our character's a freaking hoarder, like Jesus, and everyone complains.
Not that we
I
said
just
that
can't
when
give
you
up
were
this
gone.
junk, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one of the other things too that is related to that I may have mentioned this earlier is this ethical dilemma then that is also created by the scenario you're talking about, Ogre, and that's that say you're the type of person, and I'm sure it's a strong possibility that you could be playing board games with this type of person. They know they're not gonna win, and so they decide, well, if I can't win, nobody's gonna win, and they spend the rest of the time. Yeah, wouldn't that be? But
Rifkin.
I could
They'd be
see.
right. They'd
Yeah,
be barred.
yeah, but it's interesting because that actually is more in tune with maybe the way people's personalities would be in the
I
zombie
didn't get one
apocalypse.
food, one fuel, and one junk. I am so mad right now. Screw
Yeah.
you all.
I think
Yeah.
for reals though, I joke about, but there definitely could be people
Yeah.
who play that way.
Well, and like, I mean, that kind of plays along with it turns you into a betrayer without actually giving you the betrayer card,
Right.
which is kind of like, I can see how that's interesting,
Hmm.
but then it's also not a cooperative game. So
Yeah.
Right.
don't
I like
call
a-
yourself a cooperative game. I think that might be my issue with it. Like, it's
Well,
not
and I
a
don't know if
co-op
anybody
game if you have
does.
that mechanic. So
Yeah. I wonder if they would. It would be interesting to find out how they define it or what they would call it.
Mm.
oh, I thought this was listed as a co-op on there. I mean, because if it's not,
let's see.
then like that,
I'll
maybe
look
it's
it
an
up.
argument. But
I still like the idea that we all lose something. We could all lose the game if we can't help the person.
I think that's the best way to make it a cooperative game.
Yeah, me
The other way
too.
to make it is if you're trying to make it competitive on a non-co-op level, but still being co-op. That's a better way to put it.
Oh,
Because Arkham Horror did that, right? Where you
Yeah.
you could technically be the winner of the winners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get the most days, something like that.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
are several games that do that, and so it's like if you want to go after being competitive, but you don't have to.
yeah,
But, like,
yeah,
you could
because
still
everybody wins or
do-
loses.
You could
but,
still have the betrayer as a possibility, and like if they can trick people into
Oh, yeah.
believing, then it works just fine to have a betrayer. But they don't. If you don't have a betrayer, like in our instance, then I think it makes a lot more sense that we should suffer because you didn't succeed because we are on your team just as much as you are on ours.
yeah,
And they actually refer to the game as a meta cooperative game
meta cooperative.
because you do work toward a victory, common victory, but each individual has to achieve a personal secret objective.
12
I
unquote.
see.
If you can tell me what meta cooperative means, congratulations.
Yeah.
Can't.
Yeah, no idea.
So, but yeah, it's interesting, but
Yeah, I mean, that said, I mean, I definitely did have fun with it, and I would play it again though.
Mhm.
So
yeah, and I mean, I'd be interested in seeing how someone play the traitor. I know Gilly was kind of in an awkward situation, having only played the game for the first time, but she certainly trounced us.
Brought the
So
as the trader.
Yeah, but I think like I didn't know rules and I
Yeah.
couldn't ask, and so I ended up doing something wrong.
Hmm.
but there was no way like
That's
for me
always
to
the
know. And then I was
yeah.
like, well, I win. And then it was like, but you didn't do it right. And it's like, well, the game's over.
I think I think we did figure that out, but then right after that, we just realized that there was something else you would have done that would have been just as destructive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Mine
you
literally
did
was
win.
like, kill your morale.
Yeah, yeah, that's really the only way
And
to win if you're the betrayer too. Which
Mhm.
I wish maybe there was a few more ways,
yeah,
possibly.
like a few different betrayer cards that you have to like shuffle and grab one out of, and then put that one into the main
Right,
secret
right.
objective.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, if you know someone's a betrayer, you're gonna be like, they're the betrayer. They're gonna try to drop our morale.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
then you can exile them, which would I've never seen that happen either. So
Yeah.
that'd be kind of interesting.
Well,
Um, the last thing I guess that I thought was interesting and I liked is that you can search out an area, so you can
Right.
kind of like
oh
clear
yeah.
places.
That is cool. It only happened near the end, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought that I agree. I thought that was cool because then you can be like, okay, we cleared it. We're done with this area. We can move on to something else.
Right. Let the zombies have it.
Yeah, exactly. Which is that's very thematic as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many ways was there to lose the game?
Well, morale, and then if you don't meet the objective by the time the last round happens, which technically
That was the objective.
our
Yes.
objective was letting the rounds drop out. So
So I guess it's morale, but there's a lot of things that factor into morale, right? Like it's
Mhm.
Right.
starving, it's killing people,
Starving,
it's
dying,
crisis cards drop
Crisis.
morale.
cards,
waste. Getting
Yeah.
really dirty.
There's just like a lot of. It's interesting to me
interesting
that
how-
there's so many things that feed into just us being bummed
Yeah,
to
it's
the
kinda-
point of killing ourselves or
Yeah,
something.
right.
Like,
Yeah, it's interesting that there's many different kind of stats and figures and things to worry about, but they all funnel into that one thing. I wonder if that's. It seems pretty effective.
Mhm.
because Battlestar has
Unifies
4
it.
different stats, and
Right,
any one
right.
of those can fall. So you're trying to maintain all of those.
Mhm.
But you're kind of trying to do, but they all funnel into one. I don't know which one I like better.
Right.
Do you guys think?
That's true.
Yeah. Well, as
I
far
guess it
as
depends on what's happening.
yeah, exactly.
If
Well,
we're starving, I hate that, and there's no food to find.
yeah. As far as building a story, though, like a story around the game that you're playing, having more of those counters in Battlestar, I think, works better because then you can always refer to it as, oh yeah, you remember that one game when we were really low on fuel and like we were one the whole way through the last like 2 jumps or whatever. Whereas in this, it's like, well, our morale got really low because that's what
Yeah.
happens every game.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of less powerful from that, but it is nice in that it unifies a lot of different systems.
Hmm.
It just seems weird to me that like we're starving, and really all that does is make us bummed out.
Yeah, doesn't
Right.
actually hurt us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird. Like I almost considered grabbing a whole bunch because I had all those. I had 3 more of those additional person cards.
Mm.
I considered playing all of them in one turn, like when we were going to get the food supply anyway, because then I could have just gotten tons of action dice and
Right. Yeah.
and
That
it
might
wouldn't
be a
have- it
good
wouldn't have changed
strategy
anything.
too.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
blitz them all in one turn. But
Yeah.
then I was like, well, if we didn't draw enough food, then that would be bad the next time. So
In terms of thinking for strategy as you get better at the game, it's so difficult to do that on such a random game too. Like that is
Yeah.
another thing that would not make me really want to play it because like we play Battlestar after every single game, it'd be like, oh, we can't let Silence get to X point revealed or not revealed because then it's way too powerful. Like if we get to the camp and they haven't been revealed, they can execute us, and that's
Yeah.
Salusa. So we strategize not to let that happen. But in this game, I could be like, well, we could all like jump on one um, area per and clean it out and then jump to the rest if people can get sniper rifles and just
Mhm.
snipe the rest. That'd be a cool strategy, but it's entirely random. We first have to get all there without not dying, and then we'd actually find the sniper rifle was also keeping the food in another place. Like I can think of
Right.
that many times you could strategize when not only is everything random, but your characters are random too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's
It's very hard to
definitely
plan.
way more random
Hmm.
than something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was fun though. So,
Yeah.
and I'm glad we almost won. Maybe.
Yeah.
The die rolling isn't too bad here too. I'm not a fan of a lot of die rolling, and
Yeah.
I liked that it was mitigated a lot by your characters and
Hmm.
the things that they
Fuel.
can do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you still have, yeah, you're not wasting dice usually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, good game, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun. All right. Any last thoughts from anybody before we sign out here for the night?
No. Anybody else need to flip it?
We'll flip it at the end for us all.
All
Yes.
right. There you go.
It's the guest's responsibility.
Yes, all right. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back next week with another board game. And if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought of the game, of our playthrough, anything like that. And finally, be sure to follow Misscliks. You can follow all of us on our Twitters. They're on the overlay too. And be sure to thank our guest, Zombie for us too. Thank you so much, Zombie, for being on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
Thanks. Yeah.
All right, do it, girl.
Yeah.
All right. Night, everybody.
Beautiful.
Bye.
Bye.